Hi. As we've been riding the rock cycle for a little while now, I want us to see if we can identify some of the different components, some of the different parts of the rock cycle. We're working on pages 8 and 9 of our Theme 1 booklets. Okay, let's go. So, we've been looking at this diagram and how the rock cycle works. And you should by now have described these processes and how they link to one another. Let's see if we can identify what these things actually look like. Now on page 8 and 9, you've got a series of photographs of different parts of the rock cycle. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to identify what they are and give reasons for that identification. Remember that what you're looking at could be a process, so that's how something changes, or it could be a rock type, what we actually get as a result of these. So, press pause now and have a go at that. Okay then. Now you're possibly finding that quite a tricky task. Some of those photographs aren't perhaps always the most obvious feature. So, to give you a little bit of help with that, or perhaps even to check your answers before we go any further, what we need perhaps are the words and the terms you need to be using. Now, you might have used words that are similar to this but aren't exactly the same. That's fine. Remember that some of these are rocks, some of these are processes. Those are the 8 terms. Perhaps this would be a good point to press pause, use those terms to check your work. If you've missed any out, can you fit any of those in? See what you can come up with. So, press pause, check your work. Annotate the photos as well to say, to give your reasons why you've made that particular identification. Okay then, let's have a look at some answers. This is photograph A. Photograph A shows a metamorphic rock. You can see that there's an alignment of minerals within that to make these different coloured bands, and you can see those bands have been scrumpled up and twisted and bent round on themselves by very high pressures. And also for a rock to be able to be bent round like that, it needs to be a bit soft because of the high temperatures. It's a metamorphic rock. Photograph B then shows a process. This is a volcanic eruption. A fairly small one, but nevertheless there is material here being erupted, a little ash cloud there, coming out of the top of this volcano. In photograph C here, what we see is deposition of sediment. This is the mouth of a river on a beach. We can see there we've got a bank of pebbles that have been carried down by the river and dropped when that river loses its energy as it reaches the sea. So this is a process. This is deposition. If you put sediment then that's completely fine as well. Photograph D is tricky, has to be said. What you're looking at here are some slates. So this is actually metamorphic rock. The alignment of minerals within this rock allow the rocks to be split into these parallel sheets that make them so useful as slates. In photograph E, we see weathering and erosion going on. So there is bedrock in the cliffs around this climber. Rocks there are being weathered, so they're being weakened as they're exposed to the harsh climates you'll get on top of mountains. And they're starting to break off and roll down the hill there, forming what we call a scree slope. So this is the process of weathering and erosion. Photograph F, which I realise hasn't photocopied desperately well in your theme booklets, but the colour images that go with this video should help you out with this. In colour, fairly obviously, this is an extrusive igneous rock. This is, or a lava flow, or magma at the surface. This is molten rock erupting out onto the ground. And photograph G, the layers in this rock give it away. This is a sedimentary rock. It's what a geologist would call a well-bedded sedimentary rock, because we can see very distinct layers within it. Photograph H. What you're looking at here is a sandstorm, and a sandstorm is an example of the transport of sediment. You have wind moving tiny pieces of rock, sand and dust from one place to another. So we can see that there are these different processes and geological products of the rock cycle. As time goes on through the course, we'll get better at identifying what all of these are. We're going to get a lot more practice at this. But what we need to consider now is how quickly these processes in the rock cycle actually take. How long does it take to work through each of these different processes? But that's a subject for another lesson, I think. I'll see you then.